Hello and welcome to Operation Popcast, where we dive into the rewarding yet challenging journey of fatherhood while balancing demanding careers. Join us as we share real stories, practical advice, and meaningful conversations about being present and an engaged father. Today I'm talking with Jake. Jake works for the public school system as special education teacher.
That's
right.
Yep.
Husband and a father of 3.
That's correct.
So I'm a father of 1.
Yeah.
How do you do 3 kids?
So 1 to 2 was certainly a jump. It was like, and I love you, buddy. 1 to 2 it's a little bit of all right, let's buckle up. Let's really get on the same page, all the things. 2 to 3 felt like no different.
Really?
It was weird. Yeah, the numbers went up, right? Yet the ease of just kind of managing everything stayed the same.
Okay.
But 1 to 2 is a little different, and that's okay. But yeah, it's so good. It's the best.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to come back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But special education. So,
That's right.
okay, we're about the same age. Yeah.
Yep.
We've known each other for quite a long time.
Yeah, man.
Paint me a picture of post-high school, moving into college. How did this career field capture your attention?
No, that's a really good question. So yeah, special education teacher in the public school system, more specifically in the last 3 to 5 years, a behavior specialist for special education students. So, you take me back into my college years, and I sought out a criminal justice degree. And juvenile probation just popped out at me for whatever reason. Just at-risk youth in general was just something that really spoke to me. So I moved into that, got a criminal justice degree, and started working with juvenile probation a little bit. And then that moved into juvenile detention. So I worked in corrections for 3 years with 10 to 18-year-olds. And that age 10 that's a tough number to sometimes swallow, because you'd get kiddos in there that were really young,
Really?
that made some tough decisions, and the justice system needed to let them know that these decisions have an impact and have a result, right? So it's kind of a tough pendulum swing at times. But yeah, so corrections for a few years there. And then my wife's been in education for almost, 14 years. And so I said, let's make the switch. Let's do this. So I started getting my master's degree in special education while I was working my night shifts in corrections and juvenile detention. So moved into special education and haven't looked back.
Wow. So those of us that are not in this world, tell me the difference between corrections and, was it detention, the second one?
Yeah, so corrections and juvenile detention really are synonymous in that sense. And so I worked in juvenile detention, which is juvenile corrections. At that time, there was, where I live, 10 to 18-year-olds, there was a place for them to go if, there were some pretty severe crimes, right, that needed some court, intervention. So, but yeah, and I've worked in camps, YMCA camps, Boys and Girls Club stuff. I've been all over the map, working with basically 10 to 18-year-olds for the last 15 years. So
Interesting.
yeah.
And you said the decisions they've made have got them to that point, but they're so young that even if they're living in a world as a result of the decisions they've made, they're still so early in life that I'm sure there's course correction.
Oh yeah.
And that's why you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. I really I live by, and I think we parent really through a developmental lens. Those developmental years, really you're looking at 2 all the way, through elementary school and all the way through middle school are paramount to a child's ability to manage their environment, I would say, more than anything. Yeah. And so that's different for every child. You know, you look at, something I look at a lot are adverse child experiences. I don't know if you've ever heard of the ACEs study.
I have some people in my family that are kind of orbiting this world, so I've heard the term.
Yeah.
But for the listeners that haven't, let's dive into it.
Yeah. So a guy named Kaiser Permanente, it's a pretty cool name. He came out with what really it shouldn't have been novel, right? It shouldn't have been like, well, what is this, right? He came out with a study that looked at 7 different adverse, childhood experiences and how that impacted the child as they aged and grew, right, and developed. And so you look at anything from physical abuse and sexual abuse in the home, some of the really severe stuff, chemical dependency in the home, single parent households. I'm not hitting all of them, but I think the listeners could probably kind of put it together, right? What did that environment look like? How stable was it? Mm-hmm. Certainly, I mean, I can go into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but safety. What did safety look like in the environment that they were growing up in, right? It's big stuff. And so I always have looked at the child, as, truly a result of what that environment looked like, felt like, how their needs were met, how they weren't met, how things were balanced with parenting mm-hmm. or imbalanced. You look at, I think balance is a big part of kind of how I operate. And so you think you can look at that really in any sense with kids. And if there's an imbalance, then that child it might be showing some kind of atypical behavior at times. And it just might be like, it's kind of different, right?
Sure.
But there's always, and anyone in my profession, right, what we do, there's always a function behind any behavior and decision. There's a reason why anyone does anything, which is kind of a wild concept.
Yeah. Yeah, all the factors that go into our life plus mm-hmm. experiences equals mm-hmm. personality.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Well, I'm thinking, as you're explaining this, I'm thinking it from a medical standpoint. Part of my career field has some medical elements to it.
Yeah.
And I know just from signs and symptoms of patients, if I'm seeing this, theoretically, almost 90% of the time, it could also mean this. Mm-hmm. So something is happening that I cannot see.
Right.
Let's just say something right-sided heart failure.
Sure.
I know a sign of right-sided heart failure is bilateral pedal edema, fluid building up in the feet. Wow. So I would imagine that there has been so much research and study and decades of both of those that are going into trying to read the development mm-hmm. of a child from kind of a stratospheric lens, because you're not in the home with these kids, right?
Right.
But you're with them often. I mean, you're with them in school.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. Us teachers are with these students generally more than their parents ever are. Really? Yeah, I mean, you look at let's see, like an 8 o'clock. Let's see, we're about 8 to 3. Mm-hmm. Let's say if we go 3 to 10, it's a pretty much a 50-50 split, right? In the education environment, the educational environment and the structure that provides for child, and then the home environment, and then extracurricular activities and all the things. So yeah, as I look at it, it is really quite split. But yeah, it's a lot of time with us teachers, and and as teachers, I see us strongly as mentors.
Sure.
I think that's something actually that we need to keep revisiting in the school systems too, and is just our mentorship programs, and utilizing some of just our older students in that realm, getting parents, at least where I work, back involved a little more in the schools too. Mm-hmm. I think would be really helpful as well. The more, you jump out of an airplane, like, you need a parachute, you need people, you got to have people around you. And so the more people you can wrap any kid around with, so talking just any child, I think the greater, the greater you're going to find growth and success in different fields. And
Sure.
So
The term "it takes a village" goes beyond the house into the school, I'm sure, and
absolutely,
and every aspect of a kid's life. You mentioned the formidable years. What was it that captured this demographic for you?
Yeah, you mean like for me, just to have that feeling that I want to work with this demographic?
Yeah, why kids?
That's a good question. I think there's something innate in me that saw the vulnerability in the child, in the adolescent specifically. For the listeners, I work with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders primarily, and you can only start to, imagine and think about all the vulnerabilities, all of the decisions, the thoughts. They're just immense. There's so much to process, in those years. I think I found it challenging in a sense, that I wanted to work with this particular clientele, or population of kids. But the fact that they were at risk has a big part. When I'm learning about criminal justice in college, they use at risk a lot, which could mean a lot of things. I mean, right?
What does it mean, at risk?
Yeah. So for a student, when I look at if a student's at risk, or an at-risk adolescent, you can go to you can look at ACEs, which is a really more acute and severe, like, okay, what were some of the really pertinent, adverse experiences these kids had. And, outside of that kind of heavier realm, you think about experiences that kids have every day that can be, that are handled, by their parents in a certain manner even. There's a lot to it. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of research. I'm hearing a lot of education from your standpoint. I imagine that's an ongoing thing as your career progresses and time goes on. I mean, it has to be. And as a parent, I would hope that it continues, that education continues in that realm. So from my standpoint, I'm a parent. I've got a young kid at home, not school age yet, but I'm doing research on schools, and I want to know, I'm looking at things like, curriculum or diversity of students and staff. When I hear about students that are your demographic, that are the result of the atmosphere they've been put in, it's probably easy for someone like me to write off a student who makes chronically bad decisions.
Sure.
In my mind, it could just be the result of what they're seeing at home. Maybe they've got parents that are making bad decision after bad decision.
Right.
How do you talk to someone with that lens to explain what you're seeing in that child is the surface of many different constructs?
Yeah. I think what's hard, because I've been in the seat where I've had those conversations with people and parents and community members, and so I totally hear you on that. What's challenging is I don't want to invalidate what someone's trying to inquire about too, because I hear them, right? Like the shock value of a boisterous and poor decision in public, right? I mean, the negativity and the outright the immediacy with your reaction is just, it's very negative. And honestly, some stuff like that happens. It's not that I don't get frustrated or even really upset. I have a correctional background. The justice system, law, the whole 9 yards. It plays a huge piece when you look at this clientele too, because ironically, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people, ironically, you know, if you try to weaken, you set limits for students and kids and people, rules, laws, all the things, right? You have to have limits. So you set those limits, you know, and then you get a student who's just showing some really high needs, right? Making a lot of poor decisions, right? Some behaviors that are, you know, pretty unexpected and just worrisome, right? Excuse me. So you get a student like that, and you start to kind of, you'd think you start to kind of ease up and think, okay, like how can I kind of soften and support, right? Listen, empathize, all really good things. Kids need empathy. They need the reciprocal they need the back and forth, because you got to build trust.
Sure.
The tough part is that the biggest thing they need, excuse me, is a very firm line in where they can take their decisions and the limits to their behavior. You weaken that, or you make it extremely gray, right? That becomes a detriment to the child, because they will continue to push and push, right? They break through the gray area. You know, it's not black and white enough sometimes, that all of a sudden they have no idea the limits to their behavior or their decisions. So a child with with high needs, at risk was what I was getting to earlier, that I forgot about, right?
Yeah. Well, we're sipping on something, so.
Yeah, we got a little sip going. We got a little something. It's very good, a little knob. But you start thinking about students that need the most structure in their life, and sometimes I think the perception is that we're perhaps not giving in, but making it easier for that student, or maybe that student's not having the same amount of consequences on the surface level that another student might have that has, you know, their development look different, right? And again, when you look through that developmental childhood trauma lens, the child needs, more than anything, extremely clear boundaries to their decisions, their behaviors, everything. Okay, that doesn't mean, you know, I'm going to be a drill sergeant at school and just be this, you know, like this, just, it's black and white, and all you see, you know, is one feeling and one tone from me and my voice and all the things. But it's a balance. So back to balance, right? You know, like the koi fish, the yin and the yang, whatever it is, you gotta have balance. So I'm gonna build the trust, and I'm gonna be firm with it. They're gonna know that that they're listen to me in a respectful manner, and like that I'm an authority figure, right? Not I'm the authority, but I'm an authority figure, right? And then you balance that with providing them the safety and the structure that they need, right? And sometimes that might mean suspension, right? You make that decision in this school, right? You're going to be asked to leave the school and have to come back, where I am going to run a family reentry meeting with all of the staff involved and the family. That's what I do, part of what I do, small part, in order to fully collaborate and get on the same page and communicate really, really well to support this kid and this family, right? So we bring them back in. So that's just an example, right? Now the family is completely on board, right? So some families, they're not. It happens, you know, it happens quite a bit. And we have a lot of really great invested families. So now that family is holding that child accountable at home, perhaps, right? They're trying to do their thing at home. Okay, my child made this decision. So now you have this kind of accountability at home, where they're working on things. At school, we're continuing to work on things, you know, and then it just enmeshes, and it works pretty well. You've gotta communicate with your families extremely well to try to support these kids. because that's where they come from. That's their home. That's their, mom, dad, whoever that is.
Okay. A lot of things I want to unpack with that.
Yeah, I've said a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start with the first thing. So every generation of adults, I'm sure, would say, man, these kids just don't respect authority.
Mm-hmm.
So let's speak to our generation for a second.
Yeah.
How do you develop a clear, respectful boundary so that kids look at you as an authority figure?
Yeah, it's so much of it is in your tone.
Okay.
It's unbelievable. The way in which you speak to someone, and I've been told by a lot of people, like, I don't know what I sound like. I never listen to me. I don't even know if I'll listen to myself after this. I'm not sure.
You should, yeah.
I mean, I probably will. Let's be real, guys. But, like, I don't listen to my voice, right? And when I hear it, I'm like, oh, sounds kind of goofy, but, like, we'll just go with it. We'll keep rolling, right? Tone and your inflection and your paraverbals, just all that goes, your body language, everything, of course, what you say has a lot to do with it. I mean, I'm not going to just berate a kid and think he's going to trust me, But yeah, the way that you talk to a kid and the way you present yourself is huge. And it's hard to equate, or like build a picture up. But you want to connect with a kid and build trust right off the bat.
Okay.
I would say I absolutely don't want my first interaction to be, regarding something that I wish they hadn't done or said or whatever it might be. So it's going to be it's a little bit in your, like, I'm going to build these relationships strong and hard right away, right? They see me, honestly, with a building of, like, say 1,000 kids. If they see me, then there's already some trust built, and I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm on my feet everywhere in the building.
Well, I was going to say the beard, the flow, and the frame. What are you,
Yeah.
6'3"?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about 220, yeah.
Those three factors by themselves, I'm sure, garnish some authoritative figure in the school.
Yeah. I had a couple girls call me Hercules for a while. I do get Jesus, and I get Aquaman. It's just fun,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. I think that in itself can be helpful. I'm a male. I'm a bigger guy. Yeah, I've got a beard and I've got like a top bun. Like, I have a tattoo with some trees and mountains and things, and that might even be a bit inviting. I don't know. And like you said, like, I'm a bigger person, so okay, that's a person of authority. Well, then I guess I'll check that box off and I'll just build the trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think that's,
Use the hat trick of assets and then build from there.
it's been years and years of this stuff,
Yeah.
Back to YMCA camp in like 2010 when I'm working with, kids, it looks and sounds a lot different.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So paint for me, give me an example of creating a disciplinary atmosphere between a teacher and a student, and how you carry those guardrails, how you kind of explain and articulate those guardrails to parents that may not have those in place at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so one thing we do in the school I work at too we do some at-risk conferences. And so if we notice some challenges with the student, whether they're just this could just be academic too, right? Whether it's academic, it's behavioral, whether it's more just acutely mental health, like let's get the family in during the first set of conferences and let's really get to know these guys and see, like, all right, what services might you already have? How can we support those services? All the things, right? Mm-hmm. They might have some county services that we don't know about. Their medical providers, whatever that looks like. But yeah, we do some at-risk conferences that I think are really helpful in presenting this is what it looks like in our classrooms, right? And we also are aware that it's really hard to have that same environment at home. These are two different environments. And so empathize, right? Connect with the parents first. Like this, like, it's really hard, as we can tell and see, to probably be able to, you know, manage some of what John Doe is throwing at you at home, right? We can see that, like, yeah, there's some stuff going, you know, and we're really trying to support him with that. And you could probably tell that I don't like the word but. I barely ever use it in my life.
I haven't heard you say it until now.
Until I just said it, right? I almost always use the word and that goes back a decade in just, well, actually, it was probably this trauma work, honestly. The word but can negate a lot of stuff you say, so I use and a lot. Right?
Okay.
But anyways, that's something.
I'm going to adopt that.
Yeah, adopt away, man.
Okay.
Now you got to get back to my train of thought, because I don't know, I'm terrible with it.
No, we were kind of, you were explaining to me how you set up guardrails and in the classroom, and then you enforce it at home.
And how do you replicate that at home? And so, you know, in education, we use the words code switching a lot. I don't know if you've heard of those words before.
No, I haven't.
And really, that just encompasses or envelops you behave, you act, you verbalize, you interact with others in a certain manner in a certain environment, right? So depending on whom you're with and what environment you're in, you might change things up a little bit. If I'm with you and some of our friends, that's going to look a lot different than when I'm visiting my family, or even when I'm at home or when I'm working. You're different, right? I mean, what kids need to understand is that, you know, and they ask, like, for example, they ask me, like, Mr. Bertram, but don't you, like, swear outside of school all the time? I said, all the time? No, I don't. Do I swear sometimes? Absolutely. Have you ever heard me swear at school? And they'll say no. I go, exactly. It's this environment, right? You're not going to gain any respect from cursing, right? Or saying something malicious about someone else, okay? So you got to switch that up. When you're in school, okay, there's a way in which you want to carry yourself. And we try to help them, do that. And back to your point, you know, with parents at home, the first step really is trying to wrap them around people, more people. We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. The
village, the parachute. Is there anyone else that we can wrap you up with? You know, do you even have some of these county supports? The Boulder Options mentorship here, just mentorship in general, right? Are there any mentorship programs? There's just, you bring the family to the table is number one. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
You got to get the family in, and you gotta present yourself in a manner where they're going to trust you and know that you are there to care and support them 1,000,000%. Now, if they continue to struggle, we are at meeting number 5. The energy might look a little different, right? But that you start really hard, and you want to work with this family. It's just the way it is. Never against. Even when they're the hardest, and believe me, and you, in your line of work, you work with people that are how do you work with them, right? You still keep trying to work with, because if we go against, it's likely going to exacerbate the issues, if that makes sense.
So you probably have a special ability to cater these conversations to, because not one family's the same.
For sure.
I would assume. Even culturally or religiously, there's still elements of.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a really good point to bring up. Absolutely, each family brings a very different dynamic. You know, and then you move into, we start to learn about some of these parents will be very just honest and vocal about what their development looked like.
Sure.
So now we know that Jane Doe's development was heavy, right? And now I'm working with John Doe, and he's showing some really heavy stuff too. And so then what's hard for me, Brian, is to not put on all these hats and really want to work for the family and the child, you know? Well, that's why you got to allocate and delegate with school social work, things like that.
Okay.
Because it gets to be a lot. Because you want to take it on.
Some more soldiers.
Yeah, you do. You need all of them, and everyone has their own kind of line of work. And it is important to try to stay in your lane because otherwise you get burnt out too.
Sure. Do you find that there's families and parents, the majority of them are on board with this plan?
I would say absolutely more times than not,
Okay.
especially with the leadership that I work with. It is a strong with. I mean, so the person in which I work with, my leader in my school, often says, like, you've entrusted your child with us, and we are going to do everything that we can to try to support your child and you as a larger family.
Okay.
Every time we come back to the table, right? And so, yeah, that environment in itself, that process, it's something that, we didn't do years ago, where you brought the family in. You might have a social worker, you might have an uncle that's just trying to help the kid out, right? You bring anyone in, and you just try to develop a plan that involves, all the people. And then part of my job is to make sure we know who's doing what, right? In regard to what we kind of put together,
Mm-hmm.
You're problem solving,
Right.
And like I said, it might be it could be academic, it could be, just some odd or, abnormal behavior, or it might be some really aggressive behavior and some violence. I don't know, right? It's just that spectrum of challenges that kids kind of move through.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You said something earlier that triggered, and you saw me searching through some notes that I have here. You said something about kids or people in general. They act a certain way in a certain atmosphere around certain people.
Mm-hmm.
Bowen's family dynamic. Have you heard of this?
It's familiar to me, but continue. Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you knew a little bit about it. And I can only divulge what my understanding. This is content that I absorbed several months ago.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting. To what I understand, and for those listening, please take effort and time to look into this and understand it the way it's meant to be understood, because the way I'm going to articulate it now could be incorrect. But this is the way that my mind understood it, is that you develop traits and habits around people in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And in those moments or in those seasons of life, they add to those factors as well. Mm-hmm. So we act a certain way, like you and I act a certain way around each other.
Absolutely.
Because we've known each other for 17 years.
Yeah.
And the way I'm acting with you could be different than the way I act with my parents or my coworkers.
Absolutely.
And there's factors around those that contribute to that.
Yeah.
So it was really an interesting thing to unpack, and I'd like to revisit it personally myself to understand a little bit more. And again, to those listening, I would encourage you to look it up and understand it yourself, because it seems to be very dense and very articulate and very powerful.
I'm interested to look into it myself.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. Well, we could even do that together. I like that.
And so another reason I started this podcast, Jake, is so you work with a demographic of kids that I'm sure live a very traumatic life.
Mm-hmm.
And you dive into that, and you give it all the education, all the effort that you can to try to correct the ship or make it better. Mm-hmm. How do you are at work, you are instructor, teacher, Jake, whatever the students call you.
Yeah.
And now you're at home and you're with your own kids.
Yeah.
What does it look like to cut off you at work and put on your dad hat when you come home?
Yeah. We're in our summer months now, so it's felt obviously a little different, in the last few weeks. But it's a tough answer because it's not the most fun answer to hear because I'll be honest, I am probably my best self for others when I'm at work for my students for 7 to 8 hours a day. I give it all. It's very stimulating. It's busy. There's a lot of emotion all day long. There's a ton of listening.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of processing. There's just a lot to it. I get home and it can be an immense challenge to stay regulated myself. And I say unfortunate at times because I know that I'd like to give all of myself to my 10, 8, and 6-year-old. And when I get home at times and they want to give all of their self to me, I need a moment because I don't, that impatience or just kind of, it can just exude, it can kind of come out. Because truly, like you give it all, and you ask my wife, who's an elementary teacher, and there's a lot of similarity, just due to working with children. And so I've gotten a lot better at it, though, I think. Mm-hmm. So I guess for the listeners, I'm talking in the last, like, say, 10 years, right? So 10 years ago, I think especially, it was really hard.
Well, you were a new dad.
New dad.
No, wait, you said you got an 8-year-old, right? So you weren't a father yet? But...
No, so 10, 8, and 6. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right, Brian. I was a new dad, but it can be really hard, and frankly, I really got to lean into my wife because we don't like to talk. We're both teachers, so I'd rather not talk school if we can,
mm-hmm.
and we've sometimes got to debrief. We've got to go through a few things because there's no time for me to debrief anything I do at work. And there's not even a system for it. Which is actually something that now I'm just sitting here talking. It's like there needs to be a system for that. That's better. So another piece of what I've really gotten into is restorative practices and doing circles, really to get people to communicate and open up. And now I'm just spitballing everyone, but running a circle to try to help staff debrief just throughout any profession.
Mm-hmm.
So not just teaching at all, because I don't want to isolate it, to be honest with you. You sit down and you run a really wholesome circle, and that's it can be really impactful. But yeah, it's really hard, honestly, to balance working with children and then coming home to children that are pretty close to the same age or have some of the same tendencies and stuff.
Yeah.
But man, are they empathic and just, they're so understanding of my wife and I too. They can, boy, I don't know, they read us immediately, walk through the door and it's like, what happened today, Dad? And it's like, well, I got in between some students and several fights, whatever it was, and just a bunch of stuff went on. And there's other days where they're like, you had a really good day, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I did.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's tough too, because obviously we're all aware of HIPAA,
mm-hmm.
and
yes, we are.
Your students are the age of your children.
Yeah.
So I'm sure whatever happened to you, whatever good day or bad,
right,
whatever experience or group you found yourself in are their classmates.
Yeah, and it's getting really dicey or greasy or whatever you want to call it, because it's getting into that. I'm gonna be supporting students that are my kids' peers or friends, and I've thought about that actually quite a bit. One more year and my daughter will be with me at the middle school with me.
Your oldest.
Yeah.
And then you got 2 after that. So you got...
Yeah, and they'll all be coming...
What's the span? 8 years? 7, 8 years where this is going to be a reality for you?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a really good question. It's a challenge, but I'd say, like most things, it comes back to communication.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Communicating with my wife and then communicating with my kids. Listen, guys, this is kind of the day I had. And I'm not, for the listeners, I'm not comparing it to any career field. It's just, this is what happened in my day, right?
Sure.
I'm going to tell you about it. They're going to, I think our kids have become pretty good listeners. because of that kind of stuff. We talk to them about a lot of stuff. You know, by all means, we don't introduce them to things that they shouldn't be introduced to, but we have real conversations too.
Yeah.
You know, just because they are far more aware at 10, 8, and 6 than I would ever imagine.
And you as a parent being aware of their awareness,
Exactly.
I'm sure will do them favors.
It's awareness squared for sure.
Like, you don't want them to grow up too fast, but you are also in your boots on the ground in an atmosphere where reality is real and it's right in front of you.
Yeah, and they're not sheltered from it.
Sure.
It's just life. Topics come up at school, and it's like, did I wish that topic wouldn't have arose when they were in 2nd, 3rd grade? Probably, yeah, definitely. And it's my responsibility to help them walk through it, right? Move through it. It's kind of like, do you shelter them entirely from something, or do you give them the skills to move through it and learn how to navigate that, talk with their peers about it maybe, right?
Yeah.
It's like cell phones. You know, my wife and I are very adamant at this point that our kids aren't going to have a smartphone until they're at least 16 years old.
Sure.
Right?
And I would hope that there's an atmosphere of parents that are on the same.
I hope so.
Are on the same mindset of that, because I have a 20-month-old.
Yep.
Second on the way.
And you thought about it.
And I've thought about it already.
Oh yeah.
Mostly because I've been around parents like you that are a little bit more advanced in parenthood than I am.
Sure.
And knowing that this is the atmosphere they're growing up in is terrifying to me. How one click away they can be in a world that is not meant for them.
Yeah, you said it. You said it just right. It's exactly right. And again, and in my job, it comes back to skills. What skills can we give these guys? You know, and that's a lot what I did. I left out that I was a mental health practitioner for 3 years in between doing juvenile corrections and then getting into special education. And so a mental health practitioner literally helps individuals with mental health diagnoses develop skills to move through those things and navigate their mental health.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I have a little experience with that. You know, my mom is in the field. So
yeah, your mom has an immense background.
Well, kind of going back to, I remember growing up and having classmates come up to me saying, "Well, your mom was really helpful. Like she helped me through some things."
Interesting. Yeah.
And of course, she can't talk about. I could not visit her at work.
Yeah.
The laws were and are that strict, and they should be. You had that client-patient privilege, and you have the HIPAA standards in place for a reason.
Yep.
So, I mean, growing up, I had no idea what my mom did. And for those listening, adolescent psychiatric nurse at one of the more prestigious hospitals in the country, debatably. So, it's just kind of it's an interesting thing. Surface level, from so many different lenses, we have no idea what the people around us are going through. Absolutely. And you get a small window of what the youth of our community are going through. So that's pretty powerful.
Oh, I appreciate that. And it is powerful. And it's fulfilling stuff, you know. I love the work. Yeah.
Yeah.
6th through 8th grade is the wildest time. And everyone asks me, like, why don't you go to high school? I'm like, I don't wanna. No, man. Just keep me here where it's awkward and a little bit unassuming, but everyone's trying to figure out how to interact with the opposite sex, who they are, and how, you know, what is their best self. Yeah. It's freaking hard, man. And yeah, that's why I think I like it. It's so weird. It's awkward. It's all the things.
Are there life lessons that professionally you take from work to home as a parent, and then vice versa? Things you've learned as a parent methods that have worked that you bring into the classroom?
It's a really good question. I think to keep it simple, and it's not for all students because some students have gone through things where it's harder, but there's praise. Just positive and consistent praise and recognition. and validation, right? I was actually thinking about this on my way over here, but I have 2 daughters and a son. And so naturally, my son is asking to do everything with me, everything. Or if I'm doing something super obscure, he still wants to do it with me, right? Mm-hmm. And then when he's doing something with me, whether it's a sport or it's fixing something, whatever it might be, he's asking if he's doing well. And then at the tail end of that, he's asking me if I'm proud of him, mm-hmm. right? So it's like this 1, 2, 3. And it's beautiful in that way. And it's so important to kids. You know, let's say you're in a building of 1,000 and a teacher recognizes something you did that was really cool, right? Or it was, you know, you were just helping a kid out, or maybe you're just, you know, kids were littering in the hallway and you went up and you decided to pick all that stuff up, right? And teacher brought you aside and said, that's really neat. Like, thanks for doing that for our school. Just little things like that, mm-hmm. that praise it's huge. And it, like I alluded to it right away, there's students that did not grow up with a whole lot of praise at all, and so they react adversely to it. Like, legitimately, like, why are you praising me for something? Why are you telling me you're proud of me? You know what I mean? So, and there's relational elements there for sure. You know, a fatherless kid that I'm working with, and I'm telling him that I'm proud of him, and it's like, screw you, man. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to fill that void, and then we process that, you know, because that's super common. You know, that's really common for kids, boys or girls, you know, regardless of if it's a single mom or a single father. It can be, you know, there's that balance. There's imbalance there that can be hard at times.
I can see how, using you and I, for example, you know, we grew up in a home that we had, you know, our parents are married, mm-hmm. still married.
Yeah.
Healthy marriages, a healthy home, mm-hmm. right? I can see how it would be hard for someone like me, someone who doesn't have the education experience that you do, mm-hmm. to understand this world.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's part of why I think I want, or I hope that parents are getting more involved in their child's schools. At least, I don't know if you remember how many parents we had in our schools when we were younger, specifically even middle school. There were parent volunteers everywhere. It was just the environment that you kind of walked into, you know? But just, yeah, the more involvement from our parents in a lot of respects, I think that educational environment's going to be stronger. Your PTSA, you know, for the listeners, anyone with a school-age child is thinking, you know, PTSA, like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You got to support your school with funds, too, and there's a lot of cool things you can do with your PTSA and stuff, so that's a piece, too. It's a little off tangent, but it's a big part of education in schools is having your parents and your community, you know, really wrap the school up, too, which can be really hard. So that's why the school's got to do work, too. The school's got to really have that outreach, you know, and put some stuff together and have that communication.
Well, it's kind of interesting that, at least around here in our community, mm-hmm. most of the elementary and middle schools, debatably even the high schools, mm-hmm. are around neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Or very close to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even just that factor alone, it was made to be in community.
Yeah.
So, and maybe as a culture, we've moved away from that a little bit. Yeah, we can blame quarantine and COVID and all that stuff, but maybe even there's elements outside of that we haven't recognized yet. But we know there's something there that's missing from that aspect. So
I think you're right. No, absolutely. I think most things come full circle. Mm-hmm. And I think just, my wife's going to really get into, I think, our PTSA in our elementary school here soon.
Sure.
But yeah, just that involvement, and it goes a long way, even though, listeners, it probably doesn't always feel that way, but it does.
You mentioned something earlier about a debrief circle for you and your staff. Mm-hmm. sounds like maybe there's not very little that exists, or what exists currently could be built upon.
Yeah, no. We things are so busy throughout the day that when you're in a pretty intense circumstance, whether it's mental health or suicidality or various assaults, whatever that looks like, you just keep jumping from one to the next, and then you show up the next morning, you leave, you show up, and there isn't a great system to really like communicate about what that felt like, and or maybe how it impacted you, or as you guys can probably tell, I'm a big feelings guy. I'm a pretty empathic person, so that's just kind of how I roll. But
Where does that come from?
I think my mom,
Yeah.
she was a social worker for 35 years, and she was such a good listener. And so I think that reciprocal communication, kind of that back and forth, that listening really comes from her.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had to do it all over again and say you're going to college again and you got to wipe it clean, I'm sure I'd be a social worker. That's probably where I'd go.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That I guess I didn't realize. Obviously, I know the importance of a debrief.
You sure do.
My career field debriefs are day to day.
Yeah.
It's a part of what we do. And even going back to one of the reasons I started this podcast recently, within the past couple of years, I had a career defining call where 6 children and a mother were rescued from a house fire. At one point, all of them were receiving CPR in the street in front of their house until we could all get them transported to a hospital. From that, I mean, I feel like I've been on some calls that have stuck with me. And whether through my profession, through guidance from counselors, or just through elements that I've been able to build within myself, I've been able to unpack them at the speed that I do it.
Yeah.
Whether it's guided or not.
Sure.
But I thought, after a couple of weeks went by, I thought to myself, what are the odds that I go through a call like that and I'm 3 months into being a brand new father?
Yeah.
There was in my mind, there was some divinity to that. And I thought, if I can go from a call like that, where in a moment I'm doing CPR and giving rescue breaths to a child that was just pulled from a house, and right next to me are their 5 siblings. And an hour later, I'm home feeding my 3-month-old a bottle.
Yeah.
Or doing tummy time.
Yeah.
There's a very real gap there. Polar opposites.
Absolutely.
And I feel like our profession is very good at recognizing that, unpacking it, finding great methods to digest it, heal from it, and carry it with you.
Yeah.
Carry it with you in a constructive way.
Right.
So I would imagine that there is a real need for you and your coworkers. There's a need there.
I think so. It's not that it doesn't want to get addressed, or get talked about. I just don't think there's the finality there. It hasn't come to fruition where you've had a really definitive process. And I'm not saying like, if this happens, you have to engage in this debrief process immediately, right?
Sure.
We in education, just like any profession, you lean into your coworkers the best you can, and you can only do that so much too, right? You know what I mean? Because your coworkers are trying to move through stuff too, and they'd probably like to not just listen but talk as well. I've got a lot of ideas, and restorative practices, and just giving people this this circle that is closed and wholesome to just to communicate and to listen it's a pretty powerful environment. And so I'm hoping can get that rolling in different capacities in the school I work at, certainly with the students, because it's really, really needed with a lot of our students, whether you're restoring a relationship with a teacher, or it's just that classroom and that class has just been an absolute nightmare, and you got to really like bring it back to the, to the roots, to the studs. And so, yeah, I'm become pretty passionate about that as well.
Do you have coworkers? How do I ask this?
I don't know.
Have you witnessed coworkers go off the deep end in a bad way
Yeah.
as a result of
Just
working with a traumatic child, or
all the things.
they just haven't found a balance and they took too much home?
Yeah, and they're just trying to manage a lot themselves, or by themselves, and it just boils over. I wouldn't say it's really any. I would assume it's not terribly different than other professions where you're just trying to balance everything in life, and it really gets you at some point. And I think in education, again, and if you're not in it, just like me not being in anyone else's profession, it's hard to explain, on a daily basis, how you're impacted by these kids and the need to communicate and debrief. We probably debrief at home way too much, my wife and I.
Between the two of you,
Yeah,
or as a family?
just back and forth, and then even like the kids, like what happened today. They know what I do, specifically with like behavior and just students struggling with mental health, all the things, whatever it might be. So, they've become pretty attuned to body language and communication and all the things.
They're nonverbal experts.
Oh my gosh, my son, it's like all the time, you good, Dad? What do you need? It's like just meeting needs, right? Like it's Maslow's hierarchy all over again. You're just meeting needs, checking in with each other. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, you live in an interesting world too, because you, for a portion of the year, are 40-hour a week worker, and then you have months off.
Yeah, about 2.5.
What happens in your home? What happens in the atmosphere of your home between the school year and the summer months?
So during the summer months,
Yeah.
is that what you're asking, right? It's at first it's just it's like a massive, large collective breath. It's weird when you're in education, you have finality. In a lot of other professions, you don't. It's like you work for the end of May, and then you breathe, and then you have these plans, and then you're back at it.
Sure.
Which obviously is a great benefit to teachers. We do partially, it's a very small part of why we do this, but of course having our summers this way, we've only gotten to experience, this will probably be our 5th or 6th now, where it's all the kids and us at home. The first month is, ideas and thoughts and all the things, and here's the plans, here's the calendar, we're busy, we got sports, we got vacation. And then like the middle of July hits, and they want to tear each other apart. And I don't, like, I kind of just want to let it happen a little bit, because I don't really know what to do, because they want to see their friends, and they just keep picking on each other, and all the things. I'm sure parents listening, it's like, oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, boredom is poisonous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so, my son got a basketball hoop for his birthday the other day. So like, stay busy, man. Like find your things, your interests, and whatever your jam is. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people out there that are saying, oh man, 3 months off must be nice. But the other part of that lens is not only are these teachers parenting their children, they're parenting yours.
Yeah.
For 40 hours a week.
Oh yeah.
So
it truly, and
is 3 months even enough time off?
Well, and again, listeners, like we have the 5-day work week, right? And back to the Ford assembly line and the 5-day work week and all that, it's like, man, a 4 and 3 could probably do a lot of good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing here, but they, for those, I know in the state of Minnesota, several different school districts did that this year.
Oh, really?
Because they're allowed to.
What was the feedback?
So, good question. I haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, there was a bunch of school districts, smaller, that went to a 4-day school week. Mm-hmm. And then I think that last, like the Friday, or maybe they did it on a Wednesday, I don't know, was like a work to really just benefit the teacher, to get a lot done.
Sure.
Communicate with families, whatever it might be. But yeah.
Interesting.
But you're right. It's truly, you're helping, mold children the best you absolutely can, while collectively, of course, doing that with the family and the parents and everyone else, Mm-hmm. Shout out elementary teachers. Holy moly. Holy smokes. The amount of work, time, passion, heart you put in to K through 5th graders is unbelievable. And I'm not taking anything away from teachers 6th through 12th grade and elementary teachers pour themselves into these kids. We're talking about development.
Right.
K through 5. These kids need to learn how to read, and you are responsible for teaching that child how to read. Solely responsible. You have reading specialists and others that, if there's more needs, but you think about that, right? Like, especially in that age range, like, these teachers are just, they're amazing. They're unreal what they do for kids.
Yeah.
And it's just so much the time. You see them sitting there at 7 p.m. after a 6:37 to 2:30 day, and they're still working for the next day, which I know happens in a lot of professions. It's just my experience with elementary teachers.
Sure. It's the world you live in.
It's unreal. It is. It's the world I live in.
Right.
Yep. That's a good way to put it.
The lens you have.
Yeah, exactly. And it's my wife's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about your home life. I know we've kind of garnished around a little bit. 2 girls, 1 boy.
Yes, sir.
For those dads out there, experienced new, let's maybe talk to the new dads out there.
Yeah.
They parent 1 kid.
Yeah.
They have a boy or a girl at home. Explain what happens when you introduce a new gender to the family. Maybe you're a boy dad, and now you're a girl dad. Let's talk about that shift.
Yeah, it's first and foremost a battle for attention, and especially when they're small and vulnerable and just needing that safety and belonging and love. Mm-hmm. And then it's a riot of fun. Yeah, just diving into, like, my oldest daughter she's a gymnast, and if she told you right now, and I'd believe her, she'll go do her cosmetology stuff, and she'll just have her own hair salon. Like,
sure.
Like people do, right? She loves it. She's in 4th grade, and she just hammers it. She knows way more than I would have ever expected. She tells me how to wash my hair, because I have long hair, for those that, with a little bun action right now. But I didn't know that I need to scrub the scalp so much with the shampoo. Sorry, we're way off tangent for a moment. But you gotta, the shampoo is for the scalp. I'm like, okay, that's helpful. And then the conditioner is for the ends of your hair. I'm like, okay, it's really helpful too. And now everything's going way better.
Right.
But yeah, so then you've got my oldest daughter, who really leans into those, I think, girly stuff, right?
Sure.
And yeah, my younger daughter, she's definitely looks up to her, so she likes that stuff too. And she's, diving into softball and is a little more rugged too, One thing that we do for new parents is something that we love to do, and you've probably heard of this with other parents too, but we are very intentional about individualized dates, we call them, with our kids. So it's a daddy-daughter date this day with my youngest. It's mom and her son, they're doing this, just those 2.
Sure.
And just not taking any attention away. When we were talking about, like, code switching environments, it's so much fun to see a kid with just the one parent, because they're a different kid. You know, they don't have, for me, it would be two other siblings, right, to kind of battle with for attention and yada yada, but it's just one. And to continue to do that, hopefully, you know, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, you and I have known each other for many years, almost 2 decades. And it's always interesting for me to see my friends who are now parents, especially my buddies who are now girl dads, fathers of daughters, and just to see the aura that changes about them.
There is one. There is. Yeah.
It's so cool to see that, because I've got a little boy at home.
Yeah, man.
You know, he trips and falls, scrapes his knee.
Yep.
We've had several bruises on his forehead because he's hitting everything with his dome. And my wife is kind of freaking out about it, like, should we take him in? Is he concussed? And of course, we want to make sure that he is healthy and safe.
Yep.
But there's a little part of me that's kind of like, let him have a bruise and a scratch for a while.
Yeah.
What doesn't kill him? It's going to make him tougher.
That's how I respond generally.
And I don't know. I think I mentioned earlier, we've got a second on the way. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl. We're keeping it a surprise, which I'm excited about. But I imagine, I try to think of what is going to change in myself if it's a daughter. What great, wonderful, positive things am I going to discover about myself?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Obviously, your first child was a daughter, then you had a boy, then you had another daughter. What do you think changed in you as a father of daughters?
I started to almost immediately put on, the lens of the female, right? This is the world that my daughter lives in. This is what she's exposed to. This is what's really, really hard for young females. All the things, whether it's the body, the physical body that they see every single day, and trying to manage their thoughts around that, which I'm already certainly getting into with my 4th grade daughter. Will be 11 in 4 or 5 months. But you really, you put that hat on and think, how can I help her through the world we live in now? Whether it's, stuff coming down the line that females that are, maybe adversity, or stuff that they've dealt with that we just want to talk about. We just got our girls' 4th of July shirts with Ruth Bader Ginsburg and some strong females on it,
Sure.
Just, it's a cool shirt. But just start to really dive, look through things through their lens, to then, kind of tailor how I can help them through some of these things. And I think just the biggest thing is that our wife and I talk about a lot is, I think we do a pretty good job, is that we want them to be able to just come to us with everything and anything. And we're seeing that, like the last few months, my son's come to me a few different times and he's like, told me he lied about something. And then this is why he thinks he lied, yada, yada. And, I don't snap on him or anything. And we certainly walk through, why he maybe did that and how he could navigate it differently next time and stuff.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong. With girls, you do put on an aura. There's just this, there's 100% a protective factor. In my opinion, this feeling to just want, to wrap and to just be eternally present for them, Yeah. And I'm not saying that in any way it doesn't happen for my son. You think about, like, I don't want her heart to break. I don't want her to feel some of the angst that she has felt. She gets overwhelmed, and she's had to leave gymnastics many times, and stuff like that. And so her and I actually work through, we do a lot of coping skills, just little things. stuff she can do when she's in class that I teach kids that they can do while they're sitting in their desk and they don't have to get up and do it. Like it's the simplest thing in the world, and you're just drawing a figure 8 on your leg and then breathing through that 8 while you feel the sensation of it on your leg. Mm-hmm. And then the mind is just elsewhere, right, for a moment. But yeah, the tools, the skills. So yeah, I think common theme is certainly skills.
Yeah.
But that's the work I do, so just kind of moves through that lens.
You're describing a lot of characteristics I have learned and read through Scripture.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We try to emulate ambassadors of Christ in our community and as fathers and absolutely. In our family. Obviously, we have our weak moments, but at least we know the standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether we meet that head on or fall below it, we know what we should be. We know how we should be. So that's, to me personally, that's something that I try to keep pretty close to my heart, pretty present in our home. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I
think that's huge.
I would hope that for everybody.
Yeah.
I would hope that everybody finds a standard or knows a standard, something higher than themselves. Yeah. Try to meet that standard and try to be the best version of themselves.
Well, what the coping skill we always come back to, the one that's always there, prayer.
Right.
Just pray. I mean, something I've tried to work on is talking to God when I don't need to, like randomly, super random. Just, you know what I mean? Just those little conversations or little prayers, tiny little guys that, I didn't plan. Just same with my I'm thinking about my oldest daughter again, because she is a pretty anxious kiddo that's super empathic and she's amazing. But yeah, just lean into prayer, like, because you can always do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one can take that away from you.
No one can take that away from you. That's very well said. And so that's a big one.
I like that. I like that advice. In the spirit of advice, I'd like to end a podcast with a question. If you imagine you find yourself in a room full of new and aspiring dads.
Yeah.
If you could break down all your experiences so far, what would be one piece of advice you'd want to give that room of new and aspiring to be fathers?
I would just say intentionally prioritize quality time with your children. As much as you can. Just that presence. You'll never get it back. When we were kids, you think about all the memories and the experiences. At least I never thought about how my parents were thinking about those memories, those experiences, those feelings and all those things. Participate in quality time with those kids as much as you can, especially when you really don't feel like you have it in you. You know what I mean? We were talking about that earlier, but yeah.
When you have the tendinitis ringing in your ears from all the screams, just
dive in.
Take a breath and keep going.
Because when you're done reading the book or shooting the hoops for literally 2 minutes, you know what I mean? It doesn't need to always be a big thing.
Yeah. I think I said tendinitis. I meant tinnitus.
You said tendinitis. I let it fly.
Maybe you're sore too. Maybe tinnitus. Your body's just sore.
I have very tight hips, so that's something I gotta work. But yeah, quality time, fellas. Yeah, all you can do is your best, and if that's what you're doing, I think then you're on, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jake.
Brian.
Thanks for chatting with me. Thanks for sharing a sip with me and just chatting about life and fatherhood. I appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate you. This is great, and let's do it again.